Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good day to everyone. I hope everyone still in good condition. Sehat tubuh badan, insyaAllah. Okay, today let's continue our lecture class on chapter 7, which is DNA sequencing, part 1. So, right, so gene sequencing or DNA sequencing, okay, chapter 7. So this is the learning outcome. So at the end of this topic, students should be able to list the process of sequencing. There is a few types of sequencing that you have to list, know all the process, all the steps in those sequencings, and state the applications of sequencing in industry. And the third one, identify the concepts of modern sequencing. Okay, so why is sequencing DNA? Why you need to sequence the DNA? Why you need to know this nucleotide sequence of the DNA? Okay, so all genes available for an organism to use are very important tool for biologists. So if you want to do a cloning, so you want to DNA recombinant, you have to know the nucleotide sequence or DNA sequence. It's very important tools to manipulate the DNA, and not just sequence of the genes, but also positionings of the genes and sequence of regulatory protein. So basically, if you change one nucleotide sequence in DNA, you might change a big picture, not a big functions of proteins that been transcribed and translated. So with one change of nucleotide sequence, you can activate the protein, or you can deactivate the protein, or you can activate or deactivate the genes, right, that code for a protein. And new recombinant DNA constructs must be sequenced to verify construction or position of the mutations. Okay, so if you want to do DNA recombinant, okay, so of course at first you have to know the sequence of the nucleotide. So at the beginning when during you do gene isolations, or you want to isolate your gene of interest. So when you did all the recombinant, you already clone and you already transform into the bacteria. And before you proceed to next step, you have to ensure that there is no mutation occur in the DNA recombinant that you have been construct. So in order to find out is there any mutation or not in the DNA recombinant, you have to do DNA sequencing. So it's very important to ensure that there is no mutation occur, or else your end product might not be working. Okay, so this is a brief history of the DNA sequence that you can read. So it starts from 1870s until now, 2000s. The methods of DNA sequencing is getting advanced every day. Okay, so up until now, we successfully sequence the whole genome of the humans that consists of more than 3 billion nucleotide sequence. Okay, so there is two basic sequence methods that a pioneer for today achieve a newly advanced of DNA sequence method. So the basic sequence consists of two methods, which is Maxim and Gilbert's. So both are scientists, all right, Alan Maxim and Walter Gilbert's. So they propose or they develop a sequencing method based on chemical sequencing, or known as a chemical termination process, back in 1977 until 1980. And the second one, the most famous method that we use and we apply up until now, is Sanger sequencing, or known as change terminations, developed by Friedrich Sanger, all right, in 1977 or onwards, I guess. And advanced DNA sequencing, shotgun sequence for whole genome sequence that been used in human sequencing. I believe that some of your friends already covered it in the individual assignments, and also next generation sequencing, pyro sequencing, Illumina sequencing, and solid sequencing. But today I'm going to cover only the basic sequencing, maximum and Sanger sequencing. So how the principle behind those two methods I will explain in detail. Okay, first let's go to Maxim Gilbert technique. Okay, if you know, DNA consists of adenine, thymine, cytosines, and guanine. So those four nucleotide sequence can be divided into the two big groups, which is purines and pyrimidines. Okay, so Maxim Gilbert techniques is based on purines and pyrimidines structure of the nucleotide itself. So first, let's go to the purines. All right, the principle behind chemical regulations of purines. So purines consists of adenine and guanine. Right. So it damaged by DMS or dimethyl sulfates. All right, dimethyl sulfates is function to is a function as a methylation agent. So it methylates add a methyl groups in adenine or guanine, so it can modify the nucleotide structure of purines A and G, and also you can use a formic acid modifiers. It will recognize both A and G. So in DMS, it might recognize A. In DMS, it usually recognizes G, and occasionally it can also recognize A. But in formic acids, it will modify both A and G. You get what I mean? Means that kalau you pakai DMS, usually it will recognize only G. It will modify G. Sometimes it can modify A as well. But if you use formic acid, it can use both, or it can modify both A and G. Okay. So methylations of the base by DMS. And heat release, right, to release the modified nucleotides, and they will use alkaline to cleave the part of the modified nucleotides. So let's see this diagram. We will explain you in detail a little bit. Right. So modification of base by DMS, right, dimethyl sulfate. So when you add dimethyl sulfate, it will methylate guanine. It will add methyl groups in the guanine. So then this modified nucleotide will be released by heat, right? So when it released by heat, it will left empty this spot when nucleotide already been modified, will release, and it will cut by alkaline. So alkaline will cut the spot where the nucleotide had been missing lah. Okay, so we will separate two sequence. Okay. Right. The next one is principal chemical degradations of pyrimidines. Just now is purine. Now is pyrimidine. So pyrimidine consists of cytosine and tyrosines, hydrolyzed by hydrazine. Okay, just now in NG we use DMS or formic acids. Okay, but in pyrimidines we use hydrazine, so it can hydrolyze both C and T. Okay, usually it recognize C, and occasionally sometimes it also can recognize T. Same goes to DMS just now lah. Usually it will recognize Z, occasionally it will recognize A. In this case, usually it recognize C, and sometimes it will recognize T. Okay, and piperidine cleave the backbone. So piperidine this one is actually is alkaline that will cleave the position where the nucleotide is missing. And if you add 2 mole of salt, which is NaCl, it will inhibit the reaction with T. So you bubuh hydrazine. So hydrazine boleh recognize C and T. Okay, and bila you bubuh 2 mole of salt, natrium chloride, sodium chloride, the reactions of hydrazine toward T will be inhibited. So means it's only recognize C. Amen. So you are the sequence, and at the C and T, you go hydrazine, you will recognize T and C. You will modify T and C. Okay. But if you put another 2 mole of salts, it will stop the reaction or inhibit the reaction with T. So means that it only recognize C. Okay. So this is not a good picture. This is the purines one, right? Guanine. So methylated heat, remove, and piperidine we cut. Okay, so why we need to use DMS? We need to use formic acid. We have to use hydrazine, and we have to use hydrazine with salt. So there is a 4 reaction actually in maximum given techniques. Okay, so in 4 reaction means that you need a 4 test tubes. Okay, so maximum Gilbert method is basically a chemical degradation of purified fragments. How to call that? It relies on chemical synthesis. Okay, macam you just imagine the DNA sequence is actually a mimic of DNA replications, where you need DNA polymerase to read each of nucleotide sequence and make a new strand. Okay, sama juga macam DNA sequence. Okay, the single-stranded DNA fragment to be sequenced is N labeled with the treatment with alkaline phosphate to remove the 5' phosphates. It is then followed by reaction with P labeled ATP in the presence of polynucleotide kinase with attach the phosphate label to the 5' terminal. Okay, so actually DNA consists of 2 positions, which is 3' and 5'. So 5' actually dia kat atas ni, belah atas ni dia akan link to the phosphate group, alright, 3-phosphate. But then on 3' it will attach with hydroxyl group OH. Okay, so the second point means that on 5', on carbon number 5, on the DNA backbone, carbon number 5, the DNA will first treated with alkaline phosphatase to remove the phosphate, normal phosphates. Okay, and then followed by reaction with phosphate level ATP in the presence of polynucleotide kinase will attach the phosphate level with terminal. Okay, so and then it will treated with polynucleotide kinase, okay, to attach the phosphate that been radio level tag, right? Yang P32. Okay, so it will be attached to the carbon number 5. So first it removes the normal phosphate, then we add up the level phosphate groups, P52. Okay, the level DNA fragment is then divided into 4 aliquots, each of which is treated with a reagent with which modified a specific mix. So this is why you need, just now I explained, you need 4 tubes, 4 different tubes, okay, with the same sample. Alright, so the first tube, aliquot A, Sample A, sample will be add on with dimethyl sulfate DMS lah, which methylates guanine residue. So it will only methylates G residue, only G. Okay, and on test tube number 2, also sample B, liquid B, you will add with formic acid, which modified adenine and guanine both. Okay, yang pertama tadi test tube first only DMS with this DNA, and it only recognize guanine residue. But then test tube number 2, you will add formic acid, the same sample you will add, and it will recognize both adenine and guanine residue. So it will modify both A and D. And tube number 3, a liquid C or sample C, you will add hydrazine, which modified thymine and cytosines both. Okay, hydrazine will modify T and C. And the last tube, you will add hydrazine with a salt, which make reaction specific only to the C. So T itu tadi dah inhibit lah. Just now I explained to you why you add salt in hydrazine, because you want to inhibit the modifications of thymine. Right? The 4 are incubated with the piperidine, which cleave the sugar phosphate backbone, and then of them A next to the residue that has been modified. So you need sample, you need this organic reagent, DMS, formic acid, hydrazine, and NaCl, and you need a piperidine. So piperidine too can cut the backbone where the modified nucleotide is occur. Okay. Right. So this is the example. The results of the Maxwell methods can based on the chemical synthesis or chemical termination process. Okay, so just imagine. So this is your sequence. All right, G C T A C G T A. This is your 5' and this is 3', and 3' there is a hydroxyl group or H. And on 5' there is a phosphate groups, but it already been removed by phosphatase, and by help of kinase we add a radio label phosphate group with 32. Okay, so this phosphate label will be used using radio autography lah. Okay, macam northern, southern, and western blot. Okay, right. So you dah label you punya DNA kat sini, dekat phosphate group kat 5'. So test tube number 1, you will add DMS, so you recognize A plus G. Gomet. Sorry. Test tube A, you add formic acid, will recognize A and G, and test dia terbalikkan lah. Okay, yang tadi yang test tube pertama you isi DMS kan, so you only recognize guanine. On B yang you add formic acid, you recognize adenine and guanine, tapi kat sini dia terbalikkan. Okay, so test tube 1 you will add formic acid, you recognize A plus G, and on test tube number 2 you only add DMS, you recognize G. And on test tube number 3 you will add hydrazine plus NaCl, so inhibit the modifications of T. So with Z only recognize C, modified C. And on last test tube you will add hydrazine only that recognize C and T. Okay, so after you add semua this one, then this is how it works. So in test tube number 1, okay, they will add formic acid. So formic acid will modify A and G along in this sequence, right? So for example, this is the full sequence, right? Okay. So the first sequence is A. The first sequence here is A, right? So formic acid will modify A, and by heat you can remove. Then Pyrimidine will cleave the backbone of DNA, so remove the A punya part. So that's why dia tinggal T kat sini. Right? Faham Right. Next, it will recognize G. Right? So it will modify G and G will remove. Right? So dia hanya boleh detect P, G, C, T, A, C. Then next, it recognize another A here. Formic acid recognize another A here. So it remove this A. So tinggallah G, C, T. Faham Okay. On the next tubes, right? You ada sample U. Sample U you kena banyak lah sample U. Alright, your DNA sample. This DNA sample need to be in concentrated volume. Okay, concentration. Alright, so in test tube number 2, you only add DMS, so it only recognize G or modified G. Okay. So in here, there is only 1G here, so this is not counted lah, sebab this is the start one. Kalau dari remove ni tak adalah DNA U. Okay, kalau dari remove ni pun, so tak adalah sequence yang you can detect. So in here there is 2G, but it only remove the G number, the first G here. So remove, so you remove GTA, so it left start from C. Okay, and then the tip number 3. You add hydrazine plus salt, right? So you would inhibit the modifications of thymines. So you only recognize C lah. Okay. So the first one where A, T, C, G. So the first C here. So modify, remove this part and left only G, C, T, A. And the last one C here. So modify here and then remove this part, left only one nucleotide. Okay. The same goes to the last test tube, which is recognize C and T. Sama juga the first T, recognize the first T, and then recognize the second C, recognize the second T, and recognize the second C. Okay, here. So after that remove apa semua, alright, incubate in the test tube, you run the agarogel polyacrylamide gel. Okay, so when you run the DNA in the for example gel electrophoresis, it will separate you based on the size of the DNA. Okay, so for example, the fastest one shows the smaller fragments of DNA. So this one will be denoted with this one will be denoted this one, and this one, the longest one, the bigger size will migrate slower, denoted by this size. Okay, this one, and one nucleotide is this one. Okay, 4 nucleotide is this one, so on and so forth. Okay, so after you run gel electrophoresis, and you have to transfer to the radiography, right? So you only detect the nucleotide that's only labeled with phospholabel, right? Radio label, this one lah. Okay, so they can detect. So you can see those bands. Okay, so how to read, right? First, how to read those sequence. Okay. Then first, material. Okay. So when you have this positive radiogram, right? Positive radiogram. So you label lah. So the first lane is A plus G, right? The second one is only G, and the third one is C, and the last one, the fourth one is C plus T, right? So let you have to read from bottom to up, right? You kena read macam ni, right? Read macam ni, right? So for the first one is is C, sorry, alright. So G here, actually, if you most probably if you read G, there is no G here lah, right? Sebab apa? Sebab G is already, bila dalam test tube number 2 ni, G ni already been removed. Okay, so the first part is okay. Sekejap So. Okay. So after the letter G is C, right? Then when you read this radiogram, alright, so both test tube 3 and test tube 4, there is a C here, right? Why? Because both test tube can recognize a C, cytosine, right? So in here only recognize C, and this one recognize both C and T. So both ada one nucleotide sequence. So it migrate very fast, and you already know that kalau kat dalam test tube number 3 ni confirm C. Sebab apa? Sebab dia kenal C, right? The reason why kita ada test tube number 4 ni, kita nak compare kalau C tak ada band kat sini, alright, so only ada band kat sini, so means that confirm this one is adalah T, it's not C. But then kalau ada both band kat sini, it means that both are C. Alright, faham tak? Okay, so for the first one is, of course there is a C, right? C here and C here. And the second one, there is a T. Alright, so T come from test tube number 4. Alright, here GCT. Alright, so T location is here, and you cannot found in the test tube C. So means that confirm ni adalah T, right? And the second one, actually, it's the band appear in the test tube number 1. Okay, so the appear in test tube number 1, but you tak tahu at the first place is this one is A or G, because in test tube number 1 actually it can modify both A and G. So how to confirm it? You have to compare with test tube G, test tube number 2. So kalau ada band kat sini, means that confirm G. Kalau tak ada band kat sini, confirm this one is A. Okay, so this one is A, and this one is the same like this one, C. Okay, this one is example of G. So sebab apa? Sebab the second test tube that specific modified only to G is appear to have a band, which means they recognize G. Right? So kalau you talk kat sini kan, kalau kat sini, so you tak confirm sama ada A ataupun G, but then you confirmkan dengan test tube number 2. So it's not G, it's A. But in here, you dah tak payah confirm lah kat sini. You talk G kat sini, confirm lah sini ada. So it means this one is G. Right? And this one is, the next one is T. Sebab apa? Sebab dekat test tube C, there is no band. So means that is confirmed is not C, it's a T. And T on the next. And the last one is the same goes to the technical type lah. Okay, confirm is A. So you read like this one, from bottom to up. CTA CGTA, CTA CGTA, right? So this is the basically how Maxim and Gilbert punya method lah, based on chemical termination process. So maximum Gilbert sequencing is performed by chain breaking at the specific nucleotide. So DMS only recognize G, alright, formic acid will recognize G and A, hydrazine will recognize C and T, so hydrazine plus salts only recognize C. So this one is phosphate level for radiography, right, for radiogram. Okay, sequencing read from bottom to top, right, from bottom to top. Macam I explain tadi lah. So from bottom is actually 5' up until 3'. Okay, next let's go to the second method, which is chain termination proposed by Frederick Sanger sequencing. So chain termination by Sanger ni actually is almost the same as a principle of DNA replications that I told you just now. Okay, so in this chain termination Sanger, a modified DNA replication instructions, right, and growing chains are terminated by deoxynucleotides, right. So in the PCR, alright, PCR macam DNA replication lah. So in PCR we use DNTP, right? So nucleotide triphosphates. So you ada C, you ada A, you ada T, you ada G. But in this Sanger chain termination methods, they use DNTP, alright, deoxynucleotides. So what is the difference between those two, right? So in DNTP, on the third carbon there is hydroxyl groups, right, and on the fifth carbon macam biasa ada phosphate. But in DNTP, there is no hydroxyl group in carbon number 3. Okay, why is hydroxyl group is so important at the carbon number 3? Because in DNTP, hydroxyl group will determine the change elongation, right? So OH ada tak? Okay, ada. Okay, right? So this is thymidine lah, for example, right? So carbon number 5 there is a phosphate groups, and carbon number 3 are the OH groups, right? So why OH group at 3' is so important? Because it will form a phosphodiester bond with the phosphate group at the carbon number 5. So the joining of the 3' OH with the 5' phosphates will ensure that DNA is elongated, right? So tambah chain, tambah sampai banyak. Okay, sampai panjang lah. But then if there is no OH in the 3', the phosphodiester bond cannot be formed, right? So basically the chain will be terminated, right? So tak ada OH kat sini, chain tu tadi akan terminated. Means that tak ada growing DNA lah. Faham Right. So yeah, okay, OH boleh sambung dengan this is another example. So this is hydroxyl group at 3'. So ada phosphate group that can form a chain of nucleotide sequence. But on the last one, if the 3 OH group is removed, no further nucleotide can be added. Tak boleh lah. So it terminate up until here. Okay, so this is a DDATP, DDCTP. So tak ada OH, DDTTP. This is DDGTP. Alright, kalau DGTP ada lah. Kalau DD tak ada. Okay. Okay. Okay, gambar rajah 2 ni sama je. But I'm not going to use this one. I'll rather to use semua lah. Sedang sikit. Right? Okay. Dia okay, before that. Okay. So, incubation of the single-stranded DNA with unknown sequence in the DNA synthesis reaction mixture containing DDoxy. Okay. So in this Sanger process, Sanger methods, you okay. So in this Sanger method process, you need a double-stranded DNA, right? So this double-stranded DNA, you have to separate lah. Exactly sama macam PCR, and you need a primer, right? Labeled primer. This is a labeled primer. Labeled primer macam tadi lah, ada P32, so that you can detect on the radiogram at the end of the experiment. Okay, then you will need DNA polymerase. So DNA polymerase actually will elongate the chain lah, right? Elongate the chain, so so that you boleh ensure that the chains of DNA is growing. So theoretically, principally, it's almost the same as in PCR. Okay, but then the aim of PCR is to amplify. This one is not amplified. This one you want to read the sequence of the nucleotide, Okay, so let's see the example of this one. So for example, this is the double strand of DNA, right? So you tak tahu the sequence up and after T, right? So CGTAT, you dah tahu sequence dia, okay? But then you nak tahu sequence on the upstream of the DNA, so you tak tahu. Okay, so first you need to design a primer, right? The primer that already been tagged by 32 phosphates, labeled primer. Okay, so you design based on 3 to 5 prime lah, because DNA polymerase we read from 5 prime to 3 prime. So dia tak boleh reverse. Kalau reverse macam Okazaki fragment lah, susah pula. Okay, so dia akan but you have to design the complements from 3 prime to 5 prime, right? So CGAT, so this is your primer. Okay, so bila you dah bubuh primer, single stranded of DNA, you bubuh label primer, you bubuh access DATP, DTTP, DCTP, DGTP. This is a growing nucleotide yang ada OH, and then you bubuh DNA polymerase, alright. Then you bubuh DDATP, then you bubuh DNA polymerase. Okay, first you bubuh single stranded, you bubuh label primer, then you bubuh all the DNTP lah, right, into the first tube, second tube, third tube, fourth tube, right? And then after you dah add all this primer, you dah add DNTP, then dia ada sample you, then you add DDATP, DDNTP yang tadi OH tadi, and you add DNA polymerase for elongation. Sama juga kat every tubes. Okay, let's go to the first one. Okay, so when primer already attached here, then DNA polymerase will recognize and start to read. Okay, so the first one, in the first tubes, it will only terminate elongations. Okay, elongations by DNA polymerase will be terminated if DNA polymerase recognize adenine. Right? Why? Because it will use DDATP, adenine, untuk add on the chain lah. So bila dia bubuh A, DDATP, tak ada OH, then the elongation is terminated. Tak boleh berlangsung. Faham Can you wait for a while? Alright, there you guys. Okay, Sama juga macam on the next test tube number 2. You add primer, you add your sample, you add the NTP, then you add DDT, TP, then you add DNA polymerase. So bila ada T saja, bila DNA polymerase break T, then the process is being terminated. Okay, sama juga macam ni, when the polymerase recognize C, then dia akan ambil DCTP ni tadi, so elongation cannot be occur. Okay, and same goes to the last tube. DNA polymerase recognize guanine, and it will use DGTP, then the elongation is terminated. Faham Okay. So for example, kita tengok ni lah first tube saja. Alright, I will explain you on the first tube saja. Alright. So for example, the first one. So after primer, alright, this is primer. DNA polymerase akan recognize dan akan baca. Alright, and DNA polymerase recognize. Okay, okay, CGTAT. Right, so DNA alamak, okay, so GCAT is the primer. So this is the primer. Okay, then bila DNA polymerase dah bind, DNA polymerase will read the next sequence is T. So T will pair with A. Betul Then DNA polymerase will take DDATP, then akan masukkan ke sini. Means that there is no elongation occur after that, because dia tak ada OH, T prime tu tak ada OH, so it will stop. The elongation will be terminated at A. Then on the second one, it can be read lah. So the second one is A. Second one is A here. So instead of using DDATP, dia pakai DATP. So the elongation chain berjalan lagi, berjalan CAG until it found another T. So T here, DNA polymerase akan ambil DDATP ni tadi, then the elongation is terminated. So that's why up until AT, GT, CA, sampai sini saja. Right, and the next one is T here. Right, so bila kat sini, sampai kat sini, then DNA polymerase instead of ambil DDATP, dia ambil DATP. So A ada kat sini, then the elongation can continue. Then A kat sini, dia ambil DDATP, then the process is terminated. Okay, so basically in the first test tube, there is a 3 band will occur in the gel electrophoresis. Sama juga macam yang dalam test tube yang lain. Right, then after finish all the process, you need to run gel electrophoresis or polyacrylamide gel. Then the first lane, the first tube, second lane, second tube, third lane, third tube, fourth lane, fourth tubes. Okay, so if you recognize each tube, they will appear like 3 band. Okay, so test tube number 1 here, for example, this is the smallest one, the small size one, so it will be A, and the middle one here, and the biggest size is this one. Okay, sama juga macam yang lain, 80 kat bawah ni, this is the medium one, and this is the longest one. Right, you will recognize here. Okay, then how you need to read the sequence manually. Okay, right, kalau kat dalam Maxim Gilbert method tu tadi, you read sama juga macam atas ke bawah, right? Tapi dalam Maxim Gilbert tu you read directly. Tapi dalam Sanger method ni, this is actually your 5 prime to 3 prime. Okay. For example here, this is A. The first one is A. Alright, A, this one. And the second one is T. T from here. T from it, T goes to here. Right? And the second one is a G. Gomek. Asal ada G ke situ? Tengok. A, T, G, T, A, T, G, T. A, T. Asal C ke sini? Sudah. Wait, T, G. C is supposed to be G, né? So C is tu. Sekejap I try to figure out. Alright. Salah ni. Right. So patutnya kat sini. Alright. So this is from 5 prime to T prime. So this is 5 prime for 3 prime. So GCAT is your primer. Then next one is ATGT, ATGT-CAG, ATGT-CAG. Ini betul lah. Betul. TCCAG. Right? So actually this is supposed to be A, betul. This is supposed to be T, betul. And the next one should be G here. Right? Then the next one is T here, betul. This one should be C. Ya, dia salah kat sini dua ni. C and G here tukar. And this one, yes, is A. Then this one is G here. Salah C kat sini. T, C, C, A, and G. So you will read like this one, from bottom to up. So from bottom is 5 prime, and up one is 3 prime. Okay, so this is the synthesized DNA. Right, so this is your the template. This is your synthesized DNA. So means that this is your newly synthesized DNA lah. You read from 5 prime to 3 prime. So this one you kena tukar balik lah. Salah yang tadi. Okay, so this is actually the Sanger method. How the Sanger method sequence works. Okay, so DNA fragment are labeled with radioactive or fluorescent tag on the primer. On the primer, you can use as a primer. So this is a primer. Or in the new DNA strand with label DNTP. So DNTP tu you boleh label juga. Macam tadi kita for example dia kita label primer kan. Say label primer. You also juga boleh label DNTP. Or you also juga boleh label DDNTP. So tapi belah hujung je lah. Right, DDNTP belah hujung. So ada 3 way how you want to label your end product. Okay, you either boleh label kat your primer, or you label your DNTP, or label your terminator DDNTP. Either way you can do. Right. Single deoxysequence reaction is similar to DNA synthesis. Think of PCR, right? Because we need DNA polymerase and the chain elongations. Only one primer is used, of course, only forward primer. DDNTP are included in the reactions, synthesis of new strand using DNA polymerase 3. When a DDNTP is incorporated, synthesis is stopped. As I explained to you, the following example use DDATP. Another example lah. Okay. So normal. This is normal DNTP, right? And this is DDATP, right? And then polymer DNA primer you DNA polymerase dah baca CGTA bla 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 sampai kat C, sampai kat A, dia ambil DDATP. So bila polymerase ambil DDATP, the whole process is stopped. So elongation is terminated lah. Okay. Since incorporations of the ATP is random, a series of fragments different size are produced. Okay, so we cannot control the usings of how frequent the DNA polymerase use the DDNTP instead of DNTP. Okay, so we cannot control. So bila kita tak boleh control, so we result a series of fragments. Okay, so this series of fragments actually can be separated in electrophoresis lah. So you boleh tahu size dia actually kat belah mana. So maybe yang pertama ni DNA polymerase berlaku 6 kali, second band berlaku 3 kali, 4 kali, so on and so forth. So randomly kita tak boleh control. Okay, this can be separated on polyacrylamide gel or gel electrophoresis. Right, the fragment can be separated using polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis, capable of resolving fragment which difference by one base pair. Right, so one base pair pun kita boleh resolve. So means that the percentage of gel need to be lower. Okay, kalau gel tu terlampau keras, mean 2%. So also 2% and onwards. So gel punya pore tu terlampau kecil and terlampau keras, so that separation tu tak cantik. Okay, so we need to use a lower percentage of gel so that the DNA pore tu besar, it can separate nicely. Okay, so remember TAGC primer is radioactive, so we can see the image on the X-ray film. So this is lah TAGC ni. This is the whole sequence, right? So ni level primer, and the first one example ni dia pakai DDTP lah, DDTP. So jumpa je T, dia akan terminate. So this is the first T, this is the second T, and this is the last T. So band dia akan berbeza based on the size. Okay, sama juga macam tadi. This is recognize only A. And bila recognize A, this is the full sequence just now. Alright, so first A, second A, third A, and fourth A. So dia boleh separate by gel electrophoresis. And for C as well, first C, second C, and third C. And the last one is G. Okay. So bila you dah ada complete set ni, you boleh baca lah. So TAGC is the primer. So the first one is A, the second one is C, the third one is T, G, T, C, A, T, G, C, G, and complete sequence. This is the complete sequence. Okay, the G is complete sequence. Right, so you tak boleh baca macam ni, you kena baca from bottom to up, from prime to 3 prime. Okay, so this is an example of traditional DNA sequence. Fortunately, nobody needs to do this anymore lah, because sebelum ni, sebelum ada DNA sequencing, advanced DNA sequencing, kita pakai this method. So bila pakai this method, you kena ada gel electrophoresis yang besar, and then you use a lot of gel electrophoresis, and the gel electrophoresis need to be done in the proper condition supaya you boleh separate all the bank accordingly, right? So panjang ni, banyak, right? So luckily kita tak payah buat benda ni dah, everything is automated now. So senang je, masuk je sampel dengan label di NTP. So dia akan tembak fluoresce, dia akan tembak baca. So the first one is A, second one is T, so on and so forth. So that's one I will cover it on the part 2 lah, modern automated sequencing. Okay, so I will finish up until here. So I'm going to see you on the next part 2. We start from modern automated sequencing, and if you have any question, you just directly WhatsApp me, or you can drop comments on the YouTube my YouTube channel, so I will answer directly from there. Right, so thank you so much guys. See you on the next session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.